Am I the jerk for refusing to spend money on my brother-in-law's wedding? My partner, who is a 28-year-old male, has a 35-year-old brother and a 32-year-old sister. His sister has 2 children. Last year, her youngest child, who is a 2-year-old male, was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. It has been a huge adjustment, and my sister-in-law and her family have had a hard time keeping his condition under control. They were looking at purchasing a pump to help manage his diabetes. A pump would drastically help keep his levels under control and improve the day-to-day life of my nephew and his parents. The problem is that the pump is expensive. Most cost between $5,000, and my sister-in-law and her partner do not have access to this amount of money. They have been saving money towards it but are still a while off. My partner and I have 2 young children and can't imagine being in their position. For this reason, we offered to pay for the pump. We are not wealthy. We are living off of my partner's income as an electrician while I stay home with our 2 children. However, we budget well and always make sure we have money set aside. My sister-in-law and her partner declined our offer to pay for the pump as they managed to get a pump paid for by their health insurance. Great. Win-win, case closed. Or so I thought. About a month after we had offered them the money, my partner's brother got engaged. His fiancée has disabilities that prevent her from working. She also has extremely expensive taste. Shortly after the engagement, we all met up for dinner to congratulate them. At one point, they stood up to do a speech to thank everyone for their support. All completely normal until they turned to my partner and me and thanked us for helping to pay for their dream wedding. I was confused but didn't say anything at the moment. After the speech, we pulled them aside and asked what they were referring to. They explained that they heard we had offered to pay for the pump, which we are now not doing, so therefore we have a spare $10,000. They reasoned that we were planning on spending it on family, and this is the same thing. We were stunned. My partner explained to them that we didn't feel it was the same at all. A diabetes pump helps to keep our nephew alive. A wedding is hardly the same thing. My brother-in-law got mad and accused us of favoring their sister. He said that we were willing to part ways with the money before, so he didn't understand why we wouldn't now. I told him we were only going to spend the money on the pump. Otherwise, it would stay in our emergency fund. He called us selfish, and we left early. After we left, we received texts from other family members taking his side and guilting us into paying towards the wedding since his partner won't be able to. I didn't think we did anything wrong, but now these messages have me questioning. Am I the asshole? You handled things appropriately. Your brother and those supporting him are being incredibly entitled. Your savings are not a common fund, and it's completely unreasonable for them to expect you to pay for a wedding without even asking. If having a dream wedding is so important, maybe the family members who are guilting you should share the cost. Am I the jerk for not running around town for my family? I, a 20-year-old female, live with my mom, a 49-year-old female, and my brother, a 22-year-old male. My brother refuses to get his license. My mom has a license but refuses to get her car fixed, so she uses mine for everything. Here's our family dynamic. My brother is either working or sitting in his room smoking weed and playing video games. He smokes, gets the munchies, and will ask my mom or me to get him food from a fast food place. Here is where I am getting fed up. They either wait for me to get all the way home from whatever I was doing to ask me to do something, or they wait until 11:00 p.m. when I have to wake up at 6:30 a.m. for work. They ask because they know I have trouble saying no to people. This is one thing that is genuinely starting to get to me. My mom confirmed that for me when I tried to tell her I was going to sleep, and she got upset because I said no to driving to the nearby rallies, which is notorious for taking ages to get through, just for a Mr. Pibb. Yesterday, I went to get myself food. My mother watched me leave and asked if I would be back before my brother needed to be picked up from work. She told me he needed to be picked up at 9:00 p.m. It was 7:00 p.m. at the time, so of course I would be back in time. As I was driving home, she called me and told me he actually got off at 7:00 p.m. and wanted to know if I would go get him. That was fine since he works close by, so it was not a big deal. I went to get him and brought him home. The second I went to bite into my food, my brother asked me to go back out and get him something. I did not want to. I was eating. I had already settled down for the day after work. I was exhausted, and I had already been to McDonald's once. I did not want to go through the line a second time, especially since I am constantly going through the line twice for them, which is low-key embarrassing. So I asked my mom to do it. She begged me to do it myself. I do not know why, but it upset me so much. I got angry, and I made it known that I was angry because neither of them can do anything for themselves, so I am left to do it. I am burnt out. But I did it anyway because, as I said, I have trouble saying no. They do not care. I left the food in the car and said one of them would have to go get it. Then later that night, a friend invited me over. On my way home, I stopped to get a drink. It was nearing 12:30 a.m., so it was late for me. Also, they knew I went out. They watched me leave. When I walked through the door, I was met with, "Your brother was wondering if you would get him a drink." I looked down at my phone. There were no texts asking me before I got home. They waited for me to get home to ask, so I said no and went to bed. She said, "But you got yourself one." All I said was, "Yep," and went to my room. She is free to use my car as she pleases. Lord knows I am not allowed to tell her otherwise. so she could have gone and got him a drink herself. This morning, when my mom drove me to work in my car, she was clearly upset with me. She had an attitude and even yelled at me about gas. So am I the asshole for not wanting to be the delivery driver for them anymore? You are not at fault here. While it's important to be supportive, it's equally important to establish healthy boundaries and prioritize your own needs. This dynamic is really odd, as it seems intentional that they are asking you to do things at especially inconvenient times. And if that's accurate, it's very unhealthy for you. It's reasonable to decline their requests, especially when they demonstrate a lack of consideration for your time and well-being. Am I the jerk for refusing to help a friend who didn't invite me to their wedding? For about 11 years now, I, a 37-year-old male, have been pretty close with John, a 38-year-old male. We met at a job in my mid-20s and were pretty regular company up until the pandemic, where our hanging out, including a circle of mutual friends, has declined but isn't extinct. John and his partner Jane, a 36-year-old female, have been together for about 8 years now, engaged for a little under 2 years, both with a child from previous relationships. They have taken trips with their children nearly yearly. I've been happy to help visit John's, now they're home and check on things, take care of their animals, and so on while they're gone. I've helped them out with other projects and tasks over the years and most recently picked up Jane from the airport, returning from a work trip, and got her home this past winter during a snowstorm because my vehicle could handle it. Generally, I have been present and helpful on top of our base friendship. About 5 weeks ago, I found out from a mutual friend that their wedding is coming up, and invitations went out a while ago. Everyone in our circle but me was invited. As a gay man, I've experienced being iced out of some of my straight friends' lives and events in ways minor and pronounced. But this one has definitely had me thinking about my time and energy with people. I decided I would take the hint and begin to distance myself. 3 days ago, John texted me asking if I am around in early to mid-August. I said I am. John asked if I wouldn't mind visiting like I have before to look after the animals and property. I said, "Sorry, I can't." He called to talk about it. We ran through the same conversation, polite but a bit tense, so I finally said, "I just won't be visiting your home." After a moment of silence, I brought up that I'm disappointed that I appear to be the only person in our group of friends not invited to his wedding, and that I can't be helping like I have before if I'm just a background friend at this point. I wrapped up the call positively and sincerely, wishing them a good wedding and trip, and that maybe we can grab drinks soon. Jane reached out 2 days ago, sending follow-up texts saying John is upset about what I said and with her because she made the final calls about friend invites. She said that I am taking this the wrong way. There is only so much capacity, and that the others in our friend group have partners that took up space. She added that she hopes I'll change my mind and help them out because it would put John's mind at ease. I'm not entitled to the company of others or invitations to anybody's events, but am I wrong for setting my own boundaries in response to theirs? I try not to frame my friendships as transactional, but they obviously want something out of me here despite not inviting me, and then avoiding even bringing it up with me until they needed help with covering their honeymoon. What a bogus excuse. The audacity of some people astounds me. You're good enough to be their house sitter, but sure, everyone else's +1 took up all the slots. If they need someone to check up on their animals and property after a wedding you weren't invited to, they can ask another friend or family member. Am I the jerk for canceling my parents' planned visit after they billed me? My mother, who is 65 years old, came to visit me, her 39-year-old daughter, after I called her to share some troubling news about my health. I am on the mend, and the worst is behind me. She lives approximately 2 hours away from me. During the visit, she signaled she planned to charge me for parking fees at the clinic she brought me to, along with a couple of other expenses that she incurred helping me out that day. I was fine with that. She is not exactly wealthy after retiring, although she has some discretionary income, and I am an adult. In fact, I would have taken care of the parking fees and other expenses myself at the time if I wasn't incapacitated. So it was totally fine and expected. Where I stopped being fine was when she called me after the visit asking for a lot more money than I had expected. After probing a bit, I discovered that she had included not just the pasta salad she bought for me at lunch, which was totally fine, but also the pasta salad she bought for herself. I am happy to treat her for lunch and often do. I treated her for dinner that very night, but I found it odd she would just go ahead and add her lunch to the bill. I had not offered, and am I not the sick one? It was only $20 altogether. The reason I canceled her visit tomorrow to come over and help some more was because I could not believe she would pass on her gas expenses to her sick adult child to visit her. When she said she was coming to visit after learning of my condition, she omitted the part of her plan where she would charge me for her gas to get here. She complained about the cost of gas when she arrived, but she never shared her plan to make me cover it. She has never done anything like this before. It is not the money, it is the principle. I had no intention of paying for her to visit me tomorrow too. I plan on sharing my feelings about all of this with her once I have given some thought to how I will navigate it with her. I would feel so ashamed as a parent if the roles were reversed. This whole thing makes me question why I haven't billed her when I have gone to visit her after falling ill. Of course, I could never bring myself to actually do that. The thought of it makes me feel sick. So, am I the asshole for canceling her visit? Definitely, you are not the problem. It's like being on a sinking ship and someone throws you a life preserver, then asks you to Venmo them for it. The surprise factor stings more than the actual cost, making it feel like a transactional relationship rather than familial support. Setting boundaries and maintaining self-respect is crucial, especially when dealing with health issues. Take care of yourself first, and hopefully your mom will come around to see things from your perspective. Am I the jerk for refusing to wear the clothes my mother and sibling get me? So I, a 21-year-old female, am overweight and have been since I was a teenager. I have gained and lost approximately 60 pounds over the years. It's a lifelong struggle. I am not very secure or comfortable in my body, especially because my weight is distributed to my top half. Since I was 11 or 12 years old, I have felt sexualized by my own family. I was always told to cover up excessively, not to run because I would draw the attention of men, and was pushed into bras too small to try and hide myself. As a result, I exclusively wear baggy, oversized shirts and/or pants because they make me comfortable. However, both my mother, a 40-year-old female, and my sister, a 23-year-old female, act in ways that make me very uncomfortable. They are both Muslim hijabas, and I am not, and sometimes I feel like they are imposing their personal preferences on me. They always push me to shop and frequently say things like, "You have no idea how many people would love to have your body," or that it is feminine. My sister has always been very skinny. She is pregnant right now and still is slim. They always buy me clothes that reveal my figure or show a lot of skin. I have told them repeatedly that I hate these clothes. I hate being reminded of my body. I feel insecure and gross. They want me to buy more feminine dresses, but I prefer to stay in my baggy clothing. Lately, they have been getting ridiculous. My mom bought me a dress that was too tight. I told her no thank you and said I don't need or want more clothes and can buy my own. She insisted it just needed adjusting and practically manhandled me, tugging at my bra and the top of the dress until I pulled away because her nails were digging into my skin. I said no, but she and my sister ganged up on me, telling me it was perfect. My mom said decisively, "You're going to wear it, end of story," then turned to her phone and started ignoring me. To be honest, I threw a bit of a tantrum. I said she never listens to me, told them I am not a doll they can dress up, and that just because they can't show their skin or body doesn't mean they can force me to as a compromise. I took off the dress, put it on my mom's bed, and stormed out. Naturally, my friends, both religious and not, are divided. I am wondering if I shouldn't have brought up their hijabi status, and if they just know what's best for me, but at the same time, I want to wear what I want and not be forced into anything. You are not in the wrong here. Only you can do the work to get past the insecurity, and accepting their forced attempts to give you clothes you don't like isn't doing the work. No one should be forced to wear things that make them feel self-conscious, and it's reasonable that you set the boundary of what you do and do not wear. There tend to be good days and bad days, which people without body insecurity often don't understand. Am I the jerk for not changing how I live for my stepson's girlfriend? My stepson Ben, who is 20 years old, is living with us right now during summer break from college. About a month ago, he asked if his girlfriend from college, Liv, could stay with us for the rest of the summer because she is going through a rough time at home. I wasn't fully on board with the idea because we already have our 2 other children, who are 11 and 9 years old, in the house. Having 4 adults and 2 children in our space is a lot. My wife has a soft spot for Ben and struggles to say no to him, so my concerns were dismissed, and now Liv is living with us until they go back to school. There have been a few issues that have come up since Liv arrived, pretty much all of which have to do with me. First, one of the big reasons Liv wanted to change her living situation is because her parents are alcoholics. I do not drink every day, but I do have alcohol in the house, and I like to imbibe with a meal sometimes or have a few cocktails on weekends. This is triggering for Liv to see a parent drinking with children around. Second, Liv is vegan. We eat a lot of meat in our house. Pretty much every meal has meat involved. I also hunt, so we eat meat that I have harvested and I have a few mounts on the walls. This makes Liv especially uncomfortable. Ben and Liv sat down with my wife and me this past weekend and offered some suggestions to help make Liv's time here easier. Their first suggestion was that if I want to drink, I should do it in private and not around the children. I tried to interject when they suggested this, but they asked to let them finish before saying anything. Their next suggestion was to allow Liv to cook vegan meals for us so that we didn't eat so much meat all the time. She offered to do grocery shopping and meal planning to provide vegan meals for us instead of our usual meals. Finally, they asked if I could remove the mounts from the walls of the house until they go back to school in 6 weeks. When they finished, I asked if it was okay for me to talk now and they said yes. I told them that my answer to all of their suggestions is no, Dottie. I told them that I appreciate Liv's offer to cook for us, and she is free to cook a few vegan meals for us during the week if she wants, but we are not going to completely change our diets for one person. As far as their other suggestions, they are not happening. My wife spoke up and said that maybe it wouldn't hurt to try their suggestions for a little bit and see how things go. She said it's only 6 weeks and that changing our lifestyles a little bit for a short period wouldn't kill us. I told all 3 of them that if they want to change the way they live, they are free to do so, but they are not going to force me to change the way I live in my own home for a temporary guest. I told them if that means I cook separate meals for myself, so be it. But the mounts stay, and if I want a beer or a glass of wine, I'm going to have one. All three of them think I am being unreasonable and that they aren't asking too much of me for a short period of time. Your actions were justified. It's absolutely insane that your wife thinks any of that nonsense is reasonable. If Liv is so uncomfortable, then it might be in her best interest to find somewhere else to live. Her discomforts are hers to deal with, and guests should never make the kind of requests she is making. Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist in the description.